Now, what is John Jr. talking about? Jr. says Democrats want more immigrants because they won't go back to work and will just end up on government assistance like the rest of their voters. Deeply thoughtful analysis right there. That took a lot of study, a lot of digging, a lot of critical thinking to say the same shit all these other motherfuckers are saying.
That's their voting block. We want them, in Texas, but no, you can't. We want them, in Texas, but no, you can't have them in Martha's Vineyard. You can't have them in New York. Those people. What are we going to do with them? Because America's always been a meritocracy, right? But that's not what Democrats want. Democrats want and need people who are absolutely dependent on big government. That's their voting block. That's who's going to keep them in power. That's who's going to suck up your life savings, your future, your children's future, to make sure that they can maintain power. We need to finish the wall. If we have 130 billion for Ukraine, we got a couple digit billion to build the wall, to stop the human trafficking crisis, to stop the sex trafficking crisis, to stop the drug trafficking crisis, the scourge and the plague coming across our border, killing our children. Okay, it's got to stop. And Trump's the only guy that actually has the guts to do that. All right,
He's such a disingenuous loser, and he's like he looks a mess, like he's strung out. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't even really like, oh, I just did some cocaine or something. Like he be on some shit all the time. Like he looks tired, like he doesn't sleep much. Like he looked fucked up. I mean, I don't even really need to go into the context of what he was saying because what a waste of time that would be. I mean, he's just. I mean, but
we want them, in Texas, but no, you can't have them in Martha's Vineyard. You can't have them in New York. Those people. What are we going to?
He's not saying anything different, because building a wall would solve all the problems. But I will say, oh yeah, right. What a thing to come back to, right, Ruby? But I will say, I'm to a point now where, excuse me. I'm to a point now where I'm not convinced that Ron DeSantis is going to do well against Donald Trump. I'm just not, because I know a lot of the polls are showing what they're showing now, but the race really hasn't started. He really hasn't done anything yet. And I'm pretty convinced that Donald Trump is going to humiliate Ron DeSantis. Because, and I've been kind of thinking that I'd kind of been on that train of thought. But yesterday I was on with Nina Turner, and one of the things that I saw was that Donald Trump pled the fifth 400 times. That's not his first time doing it, right? And we showed a video of him, and he was talking, and he basically was just saying, a bunch of nonsense, but the energy that you felt from him was, I don't care. I'm above all of this. And when I saw that, I was like, man, Ron DeSantis is not going to beat this man, because Ron DeSantis doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the boldness. He doesn't have the strength of personality. He doesn't have any of that. And that shit matters. And people, people are the Republicans are guessing which way they want to go, but they haven't seen Ron really do anything. It'd be different if Ron was way ahead of Trump, and this was 6 months before the primary elections really got going, really were official or something like that. But I'm just, I'm sorry, but I mean, Donald Trump, I mean, what are you really going to say about him that's going to do anything? You know what I'm saying? He already has as much of the base that he has. I still know people personally who love him. You know what I'm saying? And they aren't even, I mean, they love him because they see a different version of him. They think that, oh, he actually stood for workers and stuff like that. But anyway, where was I when what I was saying about Don Jr.? I'm still gonna get this content out. But what I was saying about Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis is that I'm not at all convinced that Ron DeSantis is going to do well against Donald Trump, because the reality is that I'd already pointed out that the race hasn't even really gotten started. It'd be different if he was way ahead of Donald Trump, about 6, 8 months out from the elections for the primaries. But at the end of the day, Ron DeSantis doesn't have the personality. He doesn't have the. I said, yeah, no, yeah, all of it. Yeah, this shit tripping. But no, again, I got to get this content out just so I can at least break it up and upload it later. But I'm definitely about to use a different program. But again, Ron DeSantis does very well in Florida because Florida is a very weird state. He's very well. Yes, not again like how you were saying, he's an abject racist, and that's a lot of why he does well in Florida. He's in a state that really insulates him from the consequences of the rest of the country. And that aside, just talking about him within the Republican Party, Donald Trump, nothing that has happened to him has mattered in terms of his support with the Republican Party. Donald Trump doesn't really have the support to win a general election, but nothing that he has done, nothing that has happened to him has really made Republicans want to vote for a Democrat. Absolutely not. But again, everybody else in the party, Nikki Haley, I'm not even going to talk about her chances against Donald Trump. Like, come on. First and foremost, she's a woman and she's in the Republican Party, so that ain't happening. So nothing else need be said. And then, again, DeSantis, he is the guy. He has a very bright future in the Republican Party. But honestly, like him going against Trump in 2024 may not bode out well for his career because Donald Trump is going to be ruthless with Ron DeSantis. He's going to be talking shit about, you're up here only because of me, right? He's going to talk shit about his wife, his kids, his dogs, his pet lizards, his pet salamanders. He's going to talk shit about the elementary school he went to. He's going to talk shit about the lunch he ate last Tuesday. He's going to talk shit about his favorite sports teams. There is not going to be a depth that Donald Trump will not sink to in this election. And Ron DeSantis simply doesn't have what it takes to go to those depths with Donald Trump. He just doesn't. If he does, he would have been shown his ass in some type of way already. He doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Ron DeSantis is a rather bland person. Like so again, like I said, when I saw Donald Trump, he had just pled the fifth 400 times, and we showed a video of him, like I said, and he didn't care. I was like, man, Ron DeSantis ain't gonna, because what is Ron gonna say that people are gonna care, right? What's he gonna talk about? Because there's a whole lot of stuff Ron isn't going to say, right? Because he just doesn't have the balls to do it. But what's he going to say against Donald Trump in a campaign that's really going to mean anything? What you're a tax fraud? No one cares. You lost the 2020 election, which he probably would not fucking say, because then that would go against the rest of his narrative. So again, and that matters. Like Ron DeSantis, like, bro, you're not finna go there with Donald Trump, and therefore you're not gonna win because the only way down, and again, Trump is just going to hammer this man. So yeah, some of the polls may be showing Ron DeSantis doing well against Donald Trump 2 years out from the fucking, from the election, 2 year, but the primaries have not even gotten going. So, like Ron DeSantis, like, nah. Now, again, what are you gonna say? You pled the fifth thousands of times in your career, like. Everyone already knows that. You know what I'm saying? Like no one cares. You feel me? So it's nah, man. Get the fuck out of here. Donald Trump is going to do whatever it takes to bring the ship down with him. You know what I'm saying? If he can't beat her, then he ain't gonna let nobody else beat her. And it's like, if you aren't willing to beat that in 2024, because obviously, Trump isn't going to run again in like 2028 or something, like he's got to run now, because 2028 is too many years away. So, unless you're willing to defeat that now, you're not going to win. And Ron DeSantis, is nah, man, Donald Trump is going to absolutely humiliate Ron DeSantis. So nah. So now we gonna go over another because we was on we was on the Twitter files, the Twitter videos that I get from TYT that I maybe I didn't cover that day on Rebel HQ. So what's my guy talking about? Pastor Mark Burns says God has chosen Donald Trump to change American culture, and Trump is using the same methodology to do it that Jesus used.
Laying, blessing, and restoring America back to its rightful place. And God has chosen Donald J. Trump to do that. It takes a man who is not so religious to do the things that will ruffle the feathers of religious people, just like a man called Jesus. Now, I'm not comparing Donald Trump to Jesus, but I'm saying that the methodology is the same. It takes a person who ruffled up the feathers of the tradition, right, who didn't fit in the mold of the tradition, right, to change the whole culture, laying, blessing, and restoring America back to its rightful place.
I'm a pastor and I speak like Martin Luther King. That means anything I say about God and Jesus is the truth, and you should just listen to. Like, bro, shut the fuck up. Okay, no more analysis need to be given there. Like, bro, who? Okay, I don't even. Again, what else is there really to say about that? Right, exactly. Like, but see, he speaks like this. Like, no, okay. Pastors be killing me doing that, and again, that I'm not saying, like there aren't great pastors out here who serve their communities, because there absolutely are. But just because they're good at putting on that show does not mean, obviously, but oh man. Okay, so next, what's going on, Winter Dragon? Next in the Twitter files, I asked 3 times for one example of spending or category of spending House Republicans want to cut before agreeing to raise the debt ceiling. All right, so what happened? Oh shit, my bad, y'all. I'm over here watching it. On my other screen. I didn't even share it. My bad. Here we go.
So first on the budget demands of your party here, what specific programs are you putting on the table to cut?
Well, that's not how a negotiation works. And in fact, the law says that the president needs to step forward with a budget first. His team is going to miss their February deadline. They say they're not even going to get that done until March. So here's what I think is step one. Today, we need to have the president and the speaker in the same room. That's going to happen. And we need to have President Biden agree that he will negotiate over the reckless spending that our country has been engaged in.
But as you know, the debt ceiling relates to budgets already passed by Congresses, including with Republican votes. What are the positions? Because a negotiation, as you know, involves, if you want to call it that, involves 2 sides presenting their positions. Can you name a single program that Republicans would be willing to cut money from to make a deal?
But see, I think that's ridiculously unfair, and here's why. The credit card bill comes to our family. We have maxed out our credit cards. Now, of course, listen, we're going to pay that credit card bill. We're legally obligated to do so. But rather than force all of the onus on the Republicans, which I know y'all love to do, what a responsible, reasonable, and sensible family would do is sit down together and start to talk through how do we stop.
I'm not putting all the onus on Republicans. That's the law. The law puts the onus on Congress and the nation to pay its bill. But please go ahead. Is there a program that you can name that you personally would be willing to see money cut from?
Well, yeah, there are lots of programs. But the point is, I'm not going to negotiate against the Republican Party on CNN. The only thing that we're asking for today is for President Biden to be responsible, sensible, and reasonable, and being willing to come to the table and negotiate.
Okay, so AKA we don't have any plans, like normal, like usual. We're Republicans. What do you mean? Yeah, I mean, and again, it's like like what was his name? Uh, he's a senator from Louisiana, the guy who's always saying funny shit. He called George Santos a bunny boiler and stuff like that. John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, and other people, like saying, "Oh, it's so ridiculous to suggest that Republicans would want to cut Social Security and Medicare." Like, y'all say you want to do that all the time. What are you talking about? And Donald Trump even came out and said, don't do that." So again, and Donald Trump, he gonna be talking about that type of stuff as he's running, which is another, so and keep in mind too, he has yet to start tweeting again. And he'll be back tweeting. You better believe he's gonna be back tweeting. And when he does, the whole world is gonna be paying attention to him. Like I said, Ron DeSantis does not have what it takes to beat Donald Trump in the Republican primaries. I could be wrong, obviously, but I mean, again, unless Ron DeSantis just reaches deep down inside his soul and pulls out like a fucking Viking berserker warrior or some shit, then he gonna get his ass fucking handed to him. But yeah, no, again, it's like Republicans are always fucking trying to cut these programs. So it really is just a rather boring conversation, because you say you say that's what you want to do. And then he started going to his like, "Oh, well, a responsible family would sit down at the dinner table together and like, oh yeah, so a family who works exactly this way, but everybody else ain't." Like, they're fucking so full of shit. Okay, so what is this?
Let's remember why we have seen that the last couple of years, right? I mean, we have seen that it balloon in the way that you just spoke to. Let's not forget the Trump tax cut, the $2 trillion 2017 Trump tax cut. If you think about that, if you think about the first piece of legislation that Republicans put forward was going to increase the debt limit by $100 billion. And so there's been time after time that we have seen action that has been incredibly, not prudent to what we need to be doing in moving the country forward. The deficit increased every single year under Trump. His 4 years in office are responsible for 25% of our total national debt from the last 230 plus years. And so, look, there's been action that's been taken by Republicans in Congress that has led to where we are today. Again, their first piece of legislation just weeks ago in this new Congress would have increased the deficit by $100 billion. And let's not forget why. To help tax cheats, wealthy tax cheats. That's what they wanted to do. This is a president for the first 2 years has taken lowering the deficit very seriously and has done it in a historic fashion.
Will this administration pledge to be deficit neutral this year?
Well, what I can say is the president is committed to dealing with lowering the deficit. He has a record to speak to, as I just mentioned, the $1.7 billion that he has been able to do in the first 2 years to lower the deficit, and he is willing to have a good faith conversation, right, with anybody, Democrats, Independents, Republicans.
Now, the two biggest I'll say three. The three biggest problems with the Republican argument that the always focusing on the debt and the deficit, always focusing on the debt and the deficit. The biggest three problems with that is, one, it's a very, very old, tired ass argument that people have been hearing for a long time. It doesn't hit anymore. It's not, we're not living in a booming economy where it's like everyone's doing well and everyone has savings and, oh man, we can just loosen things up a bit and get it. No, we don't live in a time like that. So one, it's old. Two, people don't care. People don't care about the debt and the deficit and the debt ceiling. One, the debt ceiling always gets raised. So every time there's an alarm, every time an alarm is raised about, oh, the debt, what are we going to do about this? It always gets raised anyway, because like my man said in the other clip, we're legally obligated to pay our bills, on top of the fact that if the debt ceiling really did collapse, then the whole country would collapse in so many ways. So nobody going to let that happen, because why? Well, that's to the benefit of absolutely no one. And, three, more on the second reason. Again, it doesn't hit and people don't care. Aside from everything else that I just said, people care about getting their bills paid. People care about their career path, having a career path, finding their career path, having the ability to make investments, whether that be in savings or whether that be in just whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the stock market, different types of things. I mean, NFTs and crypto, that was a big disaster in so many ways. But at the same time, having the liquidity to do that will just, gives you some more personal security in life. That's the type of stuff that people care about. Like, oh, well, what are my kids going to do? That's what people care about. People don't care. Like, so again, that's why the Republican Party culturally, their political culture has continued to shift to the right, because they know they shit ain't slapping. People ain't fucking with it. So, and then again, the third reason is they don't care. And it's so obvious that they don't care, because in any type of real conversational or debate setting, you can just point out the fact, like she just did, that Republicans are very objectively responsible for raising the debt, raising the deficit. And the Democrats have been too. But again, it's like you can't sit here and cry like, oh, well, we care so much about this issue when the policies you put forth are the complete antithesis of the rhetoric you put forth. So again, the three biggest problems with Republicans always running their mouth about the fucking debt and the deficit is one, it's a very tired argument. So it don't hit. People been heard it. It's just the same old shit. So much to the point that it goes in one ear out the other. Two, regular people don't care about that. And three, the Republicans, the Republican politicians and the Republican public figures, they don't care about it either. So it's really that simple. And